Welcome back, guys. I will go through Datica's uh, HIPAA compliance policies. The reason I'm reviewing this is open source, and my company needs to incorporate policies and publish them to the public because we handle PHI, so protected health information. We handle that, so we have to publish our policies. So that's one reason I'm going through it, and I will be using this as a base. Um, I will download all these policies and update them to fit our needs. So that's the reason why I'm reviewing it. You're welcome to follow through. So I'm in the introduction. I'll cover the introduction section. I posted the policy.datica.com link to the video already, so you should be able to look at the description. You'll see references to it, just in case you missed while I was showing the address bar. Anyway, let's get started. Introduction. They're saying Datica is committed to ensuring the confidentiality, privacy, integrity, and availability of ePHI. It receives, maintains, processes, or transmits on behalf of its customers. So Datica itself, whatever platform they provide us, they're saying they will ensure confidentiality, privacy, integrity, availability of all ePHI. So whatever goes through their platform, they sign a BAA, and they're saying they will adhere to the HIPAA compliance regulations. The next thing they're talking about, as providers of compliant hosted infrastructure used by health technology vendors, developers, designers, agencies, custom development shops, and enterprises, Datica strives to maintain compliance, proactively address information security, mitigate risks to customers. Man, that's a big sentence. And assure known breaches are completely and effectively communicated in a timely manner. So they're saying as providers of compliant hosted infrastructure, so they're saying that they strive to maintain compliance. Looks like there is nothing like 100% compliance, I guess. So if they find any breach, they will inform their customers immediately, or in a timely manner is what they're saying. So the following documents address core policies used by Datica to maintain compliance and assure the proper protections of infrastructure used to store, process, transmit ePHI for Datica customers. So they listed all the policies that they list below help maintain compliance, is what they're saying. Datica provides secure and compliant cloud-based software. So they provide secure and compliant cloud-based software. This hosted software falls into two broad categories: platform as a service and platform add-ons. So basically they provide software in two broad categories: platform as a service and platform add-ons. So right now we use only platform as a service. So let me see. So these categories are cited throughout policies, as customers in each category inherit different policies, procedures, and obligations from Datica. Okay. So let's see what they have for platform as a service. So for platform as a service, they're saying past customers utilize hosted software and infrastructure from datica to deploy, host, scale, custom developed applications, and configured databases. So they're saying past customers like my company that utilize their hosted software and infrastructure. So we utilize some hosted software, like they have their CLI, and the CLI helps us deploy to their infrastructure, which is again built on AWS mostly. So they're saying we'll be using their CLI to deploy, host, and scale custom developed applications and databases. So these customers are deployed into compliant containers, run on systems secured and managed by datica. So these customers are deployed into compliant containers, run on systems secured and managed by datica. So everything runs in a Docker container or some kind of a container on AWS. Yeah, I think typically they run everything in a secured container. So that's what they're talking about. Datica does not have any insight or access into application level data of past customers. So they're saying basically they don't have access to any application level data, which is good, and does not have the ability to secure or manage risk associated with application level vulnerabilities and security weaknesses. So what they mean by that is, I think at an application level, if you don't have proper authorizations and you end up giving access to, let's say you end up giving patient data for a patient to someone who is not authorized to see it, they are not responsible for it, or they cannot detect those kind of vulnerabilities. Application level security will be, application level compliance will mostly fall on the application developer. So datica makes every effort to reduce the risk of unauthorized disclosure, access, and or breach of past customer data through network and server settings. Datica makes every effort to reduce the risk of unauthorized disclosure, access, and or breach of past customer data through network and server settings. Okay, so datica, because I think the way hacking is evolving, so they will try their best. Whatever known vulnerabilities are there, they'll patch them. When it comes to network and the server, their infrastructure, basically, whatever vulnerabilities they discover in their platform, they will fix it as fast as they can. Past customers can opt for a list of services from datica, which include backup service, logging service, IDS service, disaster recover service. So they provide services. Datica already provides services like backup, logging, identity service, and disaster recovery service. These services are not standard, and past customers must sign up for them in order for datica to manage these areas of security and compliance. So if we are backing up, at least in our case, we have to back up the database every day. So we will be using Datica's backup service. And same thing with logging service. I don't know about identity service, but same thing with disaster recovery service. So all those services need to be configured in a HIPAA compliant way. So they are all in addition to their base product, base PaaS product is what they're saying. Platform add-ons. So add-ons are compliant. Add-ons are compliant API-driven services that are offered as part of the Datica platform. These services currently include our backend as a service, secure messaging. With add-ons, Datica has access to data models and manages all application level configurations and security. So looks like they have a messaging service and backend as a service. I know they are retiring this. So this service is deprecated, but looks like they have a messaging service that we might explore. So this comes under the platform add-ons. In the platform as a service, basically they provide the infrastructure, the network and other stuff. And the platform as a service has additional services like backup, logging, identity, disaster recovery. On top of it, they have platform add-ons like backup as a backend as a service and secure messaging service. But backend as a service, I know they're retiring it. I got an email today. So in the future, there may be third-party add-on services available as part of the Datica platform. These third-party or partner services will be fully reviewed by Datica to assure they do not have a negative impact on Datica's information security and compliance posture. Okay. Compliance inheritance. Datica provides compliant hosted software infrastructure for its customers. Datica has been through a HIPAA compliance audit by a national third-party compliance firm to validate and map organizational policies and technical controls to HIPAA rules. Datica's compliance policies, procedures, and technologies are HITRUST certified. Datica's service offerings are available on AWS, Azure, Rackspace, and SoftLayer. Current production systems on these platforms are included in Datica's third-party audits and HITRUST certification. So basically, Datica went through a bunch of audits for HIPAA compliance. So if as an application developer, I use their product, I inherit, my application inherits all the compliance and certifications. So Datica signs business associate agreements with its customers. These BAs outline Datica obligations and customer obligations, as well as liability in the case of a breach. Okay. Yeah. So basically the BA says who is responsible for what. Obviously, Datica won't be responsible for application security vulnerabilities. So in providing infrastructure and managing security configurations that are a part of the technology requirements that exist in HIPAA, HITRUST, as well as future compliance works. Whoa, big sentences again. So the gist of it is So they're saying the gist of it is they manage a lot of aspects of compliance for customers. So if you host your application on their platform, they will manage a lot of aspects of compliance for you. The aspects of compliance that datica manages for customers are inherited by customers. Yeah, basically because datica went through audits, so we inherited whatever. So, and datica assumes the risk associated with those aspects of compliance. So, like the platform itself, if someone breaches at a platform level, at let's say at an OS level, they will be responsible for it, the penalties that are associated with it. In doing so, datica helps customers achieve and maintain compliance as well as mitigates customer risk. Datica does not act as a covered entity. When datica does operate as a business associate, datica does not interface with users to obtain or provide access to ePHI. Access to ePHI is through our customers' applications. So what they're saying here is datica does not act as a covered entity. Datica does not act as a covered entity. When datica does operate as a business associate, datica does not interfere with users to obtain access to it. And datica signs a BAA doesn't mean that datica will be able to access or provide access to your customer's PHI. So certain aspects of compliance cannot be inherited. Because of this, datica customers, in order to achieve full compliance or high trust certification, must implement certain organizational policies. These policies and aspects of compliance fall outside of the services and obligations of datica. Yeah, obviously, I think datica only, datica's customers only inherit certification and compliance at a PaaS level, at a platform level. If there is something at an application level, it's the responsibility of their customer, in this case, me, I guess. Mappings of HIPAA rules to datica controls and a mapping of what rules are inherited by customers, both flap are covered in number 2. Okay. In the next section, what is covered by datica and what is the responsibility of the customer, in this case me, will be covered in the next section. So datica organizational concept. The physical infrastructure environment is hosted at Rackspace, AWS, Azure, and SoftLayer. The network components and supporting network infrastructure are contained within Rackspace, AWS, Azure, SoftLayer infrastructures, and managed by Rackspace, AWS, Microsoft, IBM, respectively. Okay, so the infrastructure, at least datica lets customers pick where they want to host their environment, and they give a bunch of choices like Rackspace, AWS, other stuff. And they're saying the network components that, the network component supporting network infrastructure, obviously if it is Rackspace, it'll be within Rackspace. AWS will be within AWS. Datica does not have physical access into the network components. So it doesn't have physical access into the network components. Obviously, they are not the cloud provider. They are only a cloud enabler. So they are third party to AWS. So AWS will not let datica access their network components. The datica environment consists of Cisco firewalls, Nginx web servers, Java, Python, and Go application servers, Percona and Postgres SQL database servers, Logstash logging servers, Linux Ubuntu monitoring servers, Windows Server virtual machines, Chef and Salt configuration management servers, OSSEC IDS services, Docker containers, and developer tool servers running on Linux Ubuntu. Basically, Datica's environment or platform uses Cisco firewalls, Nginx web servers. They have Java, Python, and Go application servers, Percona and Postgres database servers. They have Logstash logging servers. They have a Linux Ubuntu monitoring server. They have Windows Server. Obviously, if you host it on Azure, you have to use a Windows Server. So they have Chef and Salt configuration management servers. OSSEC IDS services, Docker containers, and developer tools servers running on Linux Ubuntu. Okay. So they just list out what is their platform made up of. Within the Datica platform, on Rackspace AWS software, all data transmission is encrypted. Basically, data in transit is encrypted, and all hard drives are encrypted, so that data at rest is encrypted. Cool. This applies to all servers, those hosting Docker containers, databases, APIs, log servers, etc. So basically, everything in the Datica platform, all the way from data in transit to data at rest, is encrypted. So Datica by default assumes that everything contains ePHI, which is good. In the case of PaaS customers, it is the responsibility of the customer to restrict, secure, and assure the privacy of ePHI data at the application level, as this is not under the control and or purview of Datica, obviously. So the application should have proper controls to make sure that only authorized users are supposed to see electronic protected health information. The data and network segmentation mechanism differs depending on the primitives offered by the underlying cloud provider infrastructure. The data and network segmentation mechanism differs depending on the primitives offered by the underlying cloud provider infrastructure. Yeah, obviously. I think the data and network segmentation mechanism differs depending on the primitives. Basically, because Datica is it's HIPAA enabling your application on, let's say, AWS. It depends on the underlying cloud provider. So what kind of configuration you'll end up using. So within Rackspace hosted load balancers segment data and traffic, while Cisco firewalls route traffic to private subnets for PaaS customers and for platform add-ons. Within AWS, hosted load balancers segment data across dedicated virtual private clouds for PaaS customers and for platform add-ons. With Azure, Hosted load balancers segment data across dedicated virtual networks for PaaS customers and platform add-ons. Basically, we'll be using AWS, so the hosted load balancers will segment data across dedicated virtual private clouds for PaaS customers and for platform add-ons. So within Azure, hosted load balancer, okay. The result of segmentation strategies employed by Datica effectively create RFC 1918 or dedicated, private, segmented, and separated networks and IP spaces for each PaaS customer and for platform add-ons. Okay. I think the strategies they are using will basically, yeah. So the strategies they are using will separate the customers into their own networks and IP spaces. Additionally, IP tables is used on each server for logical segmentation. IP tables is configured to restrict access to only justified ports and protocols. Datica has implemented strict logical access controls so that only authorized personnel are given access to the internal management servers. The environment is configured so that data is transmitted from the load balancers to the application servers over TLS encrypted session. Okay. So from a Datica side, they have implemented strict logical access. So only authorized persons can even log into the internal servers. Also saying the environment is configured so that the data that's transmitted from the load balancers to the application is also encrypted. Yeah, anyway, so they have encryption everywhere. They say it's all encrypted. So in case of platform or add-ons, once the data is received from the application server, a series of API calls is made to the database server where the EPHI resides. The EPHI is separated into Postgres, SQL, and Percona databases through programming logic built so that access to one database server will not present you with the full EPHI spectrum. Okay. Do not understand that properly, but I'll skip to the next one. The VPN server, Nginx web server, and application servers are externally facing and accessible via the internet. The database servers where the EPHI resides are located on the internal Datica network and can only be accessed through a Bastion host over VPN connection. Access to the internal database is restricted to a limited number of personnel and strictly controlled to only those personnel with a business justified reason. Remote access to internal servers is not accessible except through load balancers. Okay. So the VPN server, the web server, application server, they're saying that they're external facing, so they're accessible via the internet, but the database server where the EPHI resides, they are located inside the datica network, and they can only be accessed through a Bashan host. I don't know what a Bashan host is. Host over a VPN connection. So looks like access to the internal database is restricted to a limited number of personnel. Okay. All platform add-ons and operating systems are tested end-to-end for usability, security, impact, prior to deployment to production. Okay. So the platform add-ons go through a process to make sure they're production ready. The 1.5 says requesting audit and compliance reports. Datica, at its sole direction, shares audit reports, including its high-trust reports, corrective action plans with customers on a case-by-case basis. So Datica, so looks like they can proactively share. So looks like they're saying they proactively share their audit reports and what corrective actions are taken with the customer on a case-by-case basis. Oh, I don't know if this means if the customer requests, then they might share it. Is that what it means? Anyway, that is not very transparent. So all audit reports are shared under explicit NDA in Datica format between Datica and party to receive materials. Okay. So that is good. Audit reports can be requested by Datica workforce members for customers or directly by Datica customers. Okay. The following process is used to request audit reports. Email is sent to compliance reports at datica.com. In the email, please specify the type of report being requested and any required timelines for the report. Datica staff will log an issue with the details of the request into data compliance review activities project on Jira. Jira is used to track request status and outcomes. Datica will confirm if a current NDA is in place with the party requesting the audit report. If there is no NDA in place, Datica will send one for execution. Once it has been confirmed that an NDA is executed, Datica staff will move the Jira issue to under review. The Datica security officer or privacy officer must approve or reject the issue. If the issue is rejected, Datica will notify the requesting party that we cannot share the requested report. If the issue has been approved, Datica will send the customer the requested audit report and complete the Jira issue for the request. Okay. It comes to version control. That's saying refer to the GitHub repository at this link for full version history of these policies. Looks like whenever these policies get updated, because they're using GitHub, it gets logged to GitHub, which is good. So that's all I have for this video. So I'll stop the video now, and in the next video, I'll talk about HIPAA inheritance.